Hey, Legal Rebels, this is Tom Martin. I'm the founder of LawDroid, and this is my podcast, LawDroid Manifesto, where I interview legal innovators about how they do what they do.
In this episode, I interview Ruby Powers, co-vice chair of ABA Tech Show 2026, who shares why this year's conference in Chicago is the essential gathering for anyone looking to experience the future of legal technology, connect with the legal tech community, and discover the innovations transforming the practice of law.
Welcome to the LawDroid Manifesto podcast. I'm Tom Martin, your host. I'm really thrilled today to have Ruby Powers on. She is the owner of Powers Law Group, but also today she's here as the co-vice chair of the ABA Tech Show 2026. Welcome.
Thanks for having me, Tom. I'm looking forward to it.
I'm really excited this year about ABA Tech Show. So I've been going for many years, and there's been a lot of great things to see. Of course, I always look forward to, the Startup Alley, Bob Ambrogi. There's so many interesting vendors that are there with new products. Sometimes that could be overwhelming, but also there's so many different opportunities to learn from people that know their stuff, talking about the latest, greatest techniques and how-tos and all that good stuff. And you're putting it together this year, right?
Yeah, I was on the board last year, and this year I've moved up a notch on the leadership role. But no, my job is to help promote it as well. I'm so excited about it. I share that I first attended in 2019, but I've been watching from afar. I really want to go, but to incorporate it with my other conferences and my law firm practice and my small children at the time. And I finally took the leap and went with a super pass with some other immigration attorneys under the American Immigration Lawyers Association. And I don't know, it was magical. And so ever since then, I've either been, speaking or helping organize and helping promote it. So I'm definitely excited. And it's really funny because I feel like there's a couple hundred of us who are sort of in this ecosystem. Maybe there's more, maybe there's less, but it's almost like it doesn't matter where we really live because we all just see each other at these conferences every 2 to 3 times a year. And this is one of the ones that you're this is where you're going to see them at for the most part. It's really exciting to go see your friends, make new friends, and sort of see where the conversation is and what trends. I've heard a lot of people say that when you go to tech show, it's like you can hear the future about what's coming. And even a lot of vendors, legal tech CEOs, I think they've gotten a lot of their ideas of inspiration at ABA Tech Show to listening to practicing attorneys and other thought leaders in the space of what the trends are and where they should be headed.
So let's recap the basics. It's going to be March 25th through the 28th at the Hyatt Regency McCormick Center, right?
Correct. And the best way to go is it's techshow.com, TECH show, SHOW.com. And that's constantly updated year to year with the schedule. It's got the experienced sponsors, promoters schedule it's got the deets there. And it always shows the color and the theme. That's what's going on. Also, fun fact, there's going to be a Comic-Con-ish type of theme because the conference next door is some type of Comic-Con-ish thing. And so if you look at the website, you'll see we've got some comic thing going there. So we're going to play into that theme for fun with T-shirts and other branding and things like that.
Well, that sounds like fun. I've been eternally impressed by how much you are into and getting done. You have so many different things going on. You have your book. You're also an adjunct professor, and of course your immigration practice, which right now I'm sure there's a lot of work to do with a lot of things coming up. But the ABA Tech Show, I can only imagine how much is on your plate putting that together.
Well, we work together as a team, and the ABA does so much. I really shout out to the staff over there. Really, what a lot of the board members do is think about what are the key topics that people are talking about, who are some of the great speakers, giving some new people a chance to get on the stage, having former tried and true speakers be mentors of the new ones, and just keeping it, diversified in that respect. And, we really work to have really awesome programming. So it's a group effort. Everyone sort of leans into their expertise. One of my expertise is marketing and talking. So I'm like, okay, I'll get on the podcast and tell everybody about how wonderful this is and how they should be scheduling their flights and hotel if they haven't already done so, to make sure that they're going to be there.
So one thing you touched on is like there is a community that gets together and gets to see each other at all of these different, legal tech conferences and just law conferences that we share a lot in common, and it's a great excuse to catch up. But for those that might be new to this, to going to the ABA Tech Show, what value can they get from it? Like what can they look forward to seeing, to hearing, to meeting new people? Like what are some of the highlights?
Well, I would say there's like networking and the connections, there's the CLE and the content, and then there's like the exhibit hall. I'd say maybe if we want to break it down into three of what to look forward to. And then we could also talk about how to get it ready for it and get the most out of it. So for the networking connections, I would probably say post on LinkedIn that you're going to go, see who else is going to be going, and latch onto a couple people and start planning when you get closer to that date, or even a couple months before, about, hey, where are you going to be staying? When are you flying in? That type of thing. What I ended up doing was making a WhatsApp group, that first ABA Tech Show, and everyone ever since then, of whoever I know will be there, so we can like constantly be communicating with each other. Being purposeful about leaning into the connections. Don't try to like be working during all that time. Like try to really give yourself a chance to really soak everything in and have those serendipitous connections and those moments. So when you're there, try to tell your team, do not disturb, and you're like really, really not available. And then set up some coffees and some times to connect, and let all the like little bumping into each other and little moments of just having those conversations, just lean into that and get the most out of it. And if you don't get to, because it's like a marathon and there's a lot going on, it can be like drinking from a fire hose, then, make sure you're intentional about scheduling those follow-ups, like little virtual coffees, if you will, afterwards. So that's what I would say for the networking. And so target some people you want to, and then lean in and follow up on the people that you met that you want to stay in touch with. For the content, I would say there's a lot of great content. This is case management software agnostic. Like I usually go to about 3 to 4 legal tech conferences a year, and this one is not touting one particular program. And so when you listen to the speeches, they're usually mentioning several programs. Maybe they'll say one that they use, but they're mentioning other competing ones that are out there in that space. So that's a lot of value. But usually you're having either practice management advisors who are working with a bar, or you have consultants, or you have practicing attorneys or professors. And so you get a lot of variety of perspective. And we do a lot to curate some of the best speakers that we think in the legal tech space. And so you can look at the content in advance. You can take a look at their PowerPoints in the app when that becomes available. And then, it's tough because you see so many things. And you're like, how do I go watch everything? But you have to make a choice because we're not recording. I think that's another reason why I like to have my little WhatsApp group. I'll say, like, which session are you going to? And, what were your highlights? And you can share what you learned. And then I think my third point was about the vendor hall. We have the vendor hall, exhibit hall breaks throughout the schedule, so that it gives you like almost a whole hour a couple of times a day to just go wander, get your little passport price thingy stamped, go talk to companies, learn from them. I think like this conference, more than anyone I go to, has such a variety of exhibitors there. And what I love about it is you can get demos in real time. You can talk to other people who are customers of those companies that might probably be there. So you can ask them just in the halls, like, which one do you use? Why do you like this one? And then you can also, schedule demos to happen when you go back home, when you're not at the conference, if you want to. And then I guess I forgot to mention, unless we count that in the networking bucket, but just like the fun stuff you get to do after hours, during, and in between, because there's usually a reception every night, or there's the Taste of Tech show, or like a little party, I guess you could say. We have a keynote or two. We're still putting the final touches on that. So stay tuned to the website. You can put that all just one. That's what ABA Tech Show is.
Yeah, it's like a big, layer cake with all this great stuff.
Yeah.
And just to kind of riff off of those things, I think number one, when it comes to the networking, that is a huge thing. I completely agree with you about leaning into Kismet because I think the most memorable things that happen are bumping into people that you don't know or that you know of, but you haven't seen personally. And so, like, all of those happenstance moments are really fantastic. And you can't plan for that. You can't do that virtually. Going there, showing up, being in person, the ephemeral nature of these things being not recorded, that you are there in person, I think brings an element to it that you can't really get from online events. The second being the content, like there's so many great people that are sharing their wisdom and thoughts and being able to be in the room to hear what they're saying. And also, by the way, getting CLE credits, right? Which is
Right.
always nice. And the last piece, having to do with the vendors, I've been on both sides. I have my company and I also am a lawyer. And I think that one big value that you all provide to people is that it's kind of like all in one basket day where you can go in there and you don't have to do a dozen demos over like a month or 2 months to figure out what's going on. You have them all in a barrel
Yeah.
and you could just check it out. And that really saves a lot of time.
I know there's like this two different schools of thought. You're like, well, I'm here. I don't want to do demos. I could do that later. But then at the same time, you could go and be seeing competing demos like at the same time, almost simultaneously in a way, and also be talking to a lot of other people who use the product. And there might be a question that you forget to ask because, it's just sort of isolated demo moment later on. But if you're like living and breathing in the legal tech space while you're there, I see different points of view. I think if I'm looking for something, my alert is like looking for a program, but I'm always looking and listening in my law practice management consultancy space. I'm really grateful to that because the exhibit hall is huge. And anyone you ask, can we change the venue? No, we're not going to change the venue. That contract has been set for a while. I don't know for how long. So all this talk, I was remembering something else to tell people. Wear comfortable shoes. Just wear tennis shoes or whatever, just make your life good, because like you can wear a comic shirt of some sort, you can have fun. We'll play into it, the theme a bit, but wear comfortable shoes because you're not going to want to have to like run back to your room very much during the day. Usually you go out there and you go to the exhibit hall, you go to class and you like, it might be, right before dinner that you actually go back to your room. It's usually the case.
Yeah, as with most conferences, but this one too, just a pro tip, you do want to take some supplies with you because it's going to be a day of it. The less time back and forth to the room, the better. But there's lots of great stuff that it's on site that you don't really have to leave unless you are done for the end of the day.
And we'll also be having those Taste of Tech Show dinners, which were very popular and got, sold out, quote unquote, sold out. They're free, like really quickly. But it's a great opportunity to meet with usually someone who's a speaker or one on the ABA Tech Show board. It just sort of like gets a group together, usually under a theme topic. But it's really just a good way to like network and sort of be an icebreaker connector. And that's whether you've been going for a long time or haven't, everyone can benefit. So I would definitely keep an eye out for those because they got filled really fast. We need to make some more openings, I think, for that in 2026.
Yeah, I think the extracurriculars like that are just amazing. And I think a lot of people overlook them or they just miss out on them because they don't see that. But I definitely encourage you to sign up for them. It's great opportunities to have like a smaller group of people that you get to connect with. Don't miss out on that.
And sometimes there'll be non-ABA Tech Show sanctioned parties. So, keep your ear out for those. That's an unofficial tip as well for when those parties are happening. They're usually happening after hours, after a lot of the programming. So you could still make it all happen.
And it's also possible to add in a day or two to see the city. Like if we
That's
just
true.
zoom out a
Yeah.
little bit to Chicago. I mean, it is Chicago. It's like an amazing city. And there's just so much to see. The food is fantastic. People are
Yeah.
great. What's like something that stands out for you as an experience that you had in Chicago?
Okay. We didn't plan this, but I was just looking up the website. The Griffin Museum of Science and Industry is super cool. I was at a conference in Chicago and they took us there and There's like a submarine in the basement, like a real submarine. And there's just so many cool things there. They have like a mining experience that's like really, I don't know, it's wild. They have NASA type of things. So like if you want to go because you're curious and you want to go, or if you want to take your family with you, definitely suggest that. You can also do the architecture boat tour. Like, oh my gosh, how many skyscrapers or, that are in Chicago. I mean, probably late March can be good weather. It can be a little cold, but, dress appropriately. Just the history and the views and the diversity of the architecture. I'm not an architecture person, but I was fascinated by it.
Yeah.
And I don't know, I'm sure there's like so much more, including what you said, the food. There's so many great restaurants. Hang out with your foodie friends, do the research, get the reservations. Yes. Ooh, I'm getting excited.
Like one thing you just mentioned about the architecture there. The first time I went to Chicago, the thing that stuck out in my mind was just like, if you look in one direction, you'll see a building that reminds you of Paris. And then you look in another direction, then you see something that looks like Manhattan. All of these different styles, all in one place. There's a lot more to see. There's the conference, there's also the city. And so it's a great excuse to go on a nice trip.
For sure. And also make sure to stay on Saturday because we're going to have some really good programming. I would probably, suggest coming in on midday Wednesday, and then we have full programming Thursday and Friday, and then half on Saturday, culminating with a panel with judges and 60 tips in 60 minutes. So make sure to give yourself time to really enjoy the whole conference and don't be rushing out and miss anything. It's 2 full days in the middle and a little bit of that Wednesday and Saturday. So there's a lot to take in.
So it does sound like a lot of fun and a lot to learn. But one thing practically, for some people that are thinking about doing this, but they have to get buy-in from their, partner or from the law firm, and they have to explain it in a request, how do you think is the best way to frame that?
Well, they could just listen to this podcast episode and then hopefully they won't be questioning the value. But I think it would be, the people that you meet, you're going to meet other like-minded, forward-thinking people who can be lifelong friends and help inspire you to keep trying out new programs, new ways of doing things, and can get you a leg up that might otherwise have taken you a long time listening, reading, and otherwise not being at this conference. That's one thing. You get the CLE credit. Woohoo. Yay. The connections, the demos, like pretty much everything that we've sort of broken down, like they're just so worth it. And I've talked to lots of people who've attended and there's also that energy, the excitement, about like sometimes you're just like, oh, I don't want to have to change my case management software, or I don't want to have to reevaluate my tech stack. But when you talk to these other people and they're like telling you about these different programs they're using and how it's working, you just get excited about things. And so when I come back from my go to the tech show, I'm like, okay, we got to do this and do that and change things. And my team's like, woo, they're like, Ruby's coming back from a conference, but it's not just any conference, it's, ABA Tech Show. So there's so many benefits. It's sort of just whoever, just know what your audience wants to hear. And we could probably find a business case for ROI for them to see the value of attending.
Yeah, or you could just look at the highlights for this podcast and just copy and paste that. It sounds like there's so much to look forward to, and I'm looking forward to it because we're actually going to be speaking on a panel together, right?
That's right. I was wondering when we were going to mention that because everyone should come to our session. It's going to be the frontline heroes, AI receptionist, smart intake, and seamless scheduling. And I really worked hard to get this on because I had kept hearing so much about the AI receptionist and just sort of like that whole like before the consultation phase in the client journey. And I think there's a lot of changes happening in this space, and you have an expertise for everything you do, and especially with LawDroid. And so I'm excited to be on the panel with you. And I'm also going to be speaking about podcasting, making a panel with some other podcasters, and I have a panel on resilience. So I'm really excited about that because between a practicing immigration attorney and in the legal tech space, I feel like I'm surrounded by 2 tsunamis of constant change. And so I think the resilience is sort of like my mantra.
Yeah, I definitely identify and sympathize with the whole tsunami thing because there's so
Yeah.
much change. By the way, what is the theme of this year's conference?
We're sort of playing in with the comic thing, but even like the titles of our tracks are silly and fun in that respect. But I think there's also like a sub theme of like rule of law as
Mm,
well, which is way more serious and essential and timely. It's still evolving, but that's what I would suggest is sort of where we're going with it right now. But like some of our tracks are called Space, Time, and Leadership, Conquering
oh,
Change, Masters
okay.
of Attraction,
All right.
Guardians of the Data. We got a little geeky on this, so we were
Yeah.
having fun. You can tell.
Well, in everything that we've talked about, everything from like the vendors to the content to the networking, even the extracurriculars in the city, is there anything that we've left out? Is there anything else that you'd want to emphasize for people that are considering going? It might be on the fence.
Um, well, I think if you're on the fence, just take this as a sign to just do it because you won't regret it. I've never found anybody who said that they regretted attending. In fact, I find people get more excited, they sort of jump light years in their progress with their operations and their tech, and the connections have been life altering. In fact, you might come up with a business idea or a whole nother stream of revenue that you hadn't anticipated. I think I also want to throw out there that we are going to have a mini Access to Justice track that's going to be in the exhibit hall. And I'm really happy about that because we're expanding that programming over the years. And we're putting in the exhibit hall so that the exhibit hall pass, which is there's no cost for that, individuals can go and attend. And I think it'll create like an opportunity for networking for those who are in that space between the vendors and the practitioners. I think the thing is like we're guides as on the board of like what we think are the topics, but we also know that things are going to be changing up until the moment. And
Yeah.
so there's sort of this unspoken rule. It's like you might have to update some of this content up until the last minute because new trends might be emerging. And so that's what the beauty of this is that you don't have to go listen to a whole bunch of podcasts, read a whole bunch of articles, and take a while to consume all this. Like you can come here and get a really good taste of what's happening in this space from multiple perspectives in just a couple of days. And so in that respect, I feel like you do see the return on your investment. And if you're a small solo, you'll benefit. If you're small mid-size, you'll benefit. Big law can also benefit as well. And if you have a legal tech company and you're considering starting something and you want to talk to practitioners and see how they're using it, you can benefit as well. So PMAs, consultants, there's nonprofits. We're going to have some judges be on some panels. And I think even academia, like you and I are both adjuncts. I think this is great because there's so many new tech courses. Like I teach law practice management, but I put a lot of tech in that. We're creating that education pipeline for future lawyers. And I love that we're in this ecosystem and we have this place to convene and compare notes and share ideas.
Well, you definitely got me excited, Ruby. So I hope everyone who's
And you're
watching,
already going, Tom.
yeah, and I'm already going, but I'm excited to be going now. And if you made it this far, then you should be going too. So it's going to be March 25th through the 28th. Where can
Mhm.
people go to get their tickets?
Well, I think the best thing is just to know about the Tech Show website. So that's the TECH show, SHOW.com. And that's going to be updated regularly. So that's where we're going to put the schedule, the speakers. We already have a lot of good stuff here right now. We have hotel, travel. It's already on the website. So you can get your hotel. I would get it. I'd get it now and get your flight. There's so many airports in Chicago, and then you can Uber or taxi or train or whatever. You can do lots of different things. Yeah, so I would say at least if you're already convinced, then get your hotel and your flight figured out, or however you're going to stay, and then you can register on the website as well. And then I think as you get closer to it, be announcing on LinkedIn that you'll be going, and try to find out who else is going to be going, so you can plan to connect and get the most out of it.
Well, it's been lovely having you on the show, Ruby. Thank you so much.
Always a pleasure. Appreciate the opportunity to to sort of give this little shout out about ABA Tech Show, and looking forward to seeing all those who've been listening there in March.
And I really hope to see you there too. Ruby and I will be waiting. Go to techshow.com, get your tickets. It's going to be in Chicago. It's going to be amazing. March 25th through the 28th. See you there. Thank you so much for watching the latest episode of the LawDroid Manifesto podcast. To keep in the loop about upcoming episodes, please subscribe to LawDroid Manifesto and you'll get notified. Thanks for watching. See you next time.